Seneca in letter one to his friend Lucilius indicated that the worst loss of time is due to carelessness. He says if we pay attention, we'll realize that most of our life passes while we're doing wrong, a large part while we're doing nothing, and most of it doing things that don't really matter. Hey guys, welcome back. Warren here. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Today I want to talk about that. What did Seneca mean by the worst loss of time is due to carelessness? But more specifically, I want to talk about the three things he indicated that are the cause of our loss of time. And this letter was from a series of letters, a compilation. The book, I think, actually, the book is titled Letters from a Stoic. And like I said earlier, it was letters to his friend Lucilius. But what does he mean by carelessness? And I was thinking about that, and specifically doing wrong. Like, what does he mean by most of our lives are spent doing wrong? And I think I know what he means by that. And I wanted to take that in its parts, specifically break it down in three specific areas. And that is smart, nefarious people. And you're probably wondering, what does he mean by that? And so many people that are super smart in our society today spend so much of their time doing nefarious deeds instead of spending them on the things that they're actually smart about, instead of chasing greed, instead of being the next popular entrepreneur or number one on or make the Fortune top 50 and any of those. But there's some super smart people that don't use their skill sets to better society or even themselves in the most practical way. And what do I mean by that? You've seen the shows, and they spend so much time coming up with nefarious behavior, how to scam the IRS, how to scam the feds in any way, shape, or form, whatever business they're in, instead of using their smarts to enhance their business and that specific area of their lives, they spend so much of it actually doing nefarious acts. And I didn't want to name names, and I don't think I will. I think you can. I will give you one specific female and one specific male that has occurred in the past, let's say 5 years. That's just been in the news about greed and the fact that there's smart people who just took a different route. And I'm not sure if that makes sense, but they're just people who spend so much time doing wrong. And that brings me to those who spend our lives seeking revenge. Yes, I said it, seeking revenge. My grandparents used to say, by doing that, you age yourself faster than nature would. And I believe that. You look at some people who are going through that, where they're just constantly talking about getting back at someone for wronging them in whatever areas of their lives. And my grandparents are right. I mean, they're right about a lot of things, but they're right with this one too, because what is the gain? What is the gain? And I'll throw this question at you. What if you spent 15 years conjuring up this dream of revenge for this person, and life happens? you move away from the area. The person moves away from the area. Life gets a vote, and sadly, the person might pass. I mean, you probably celebrate that, but that just goes back to, are you growing or are you staying stagnant, right? Because that thinking shouldn't be even in your vocabulary. But I mean, those seeking revenge, why do you do it? Do you spend so much time doing it? And often, unless you go back to number one and cross the line, you often don't even pull the trigger on it. You just pursue it in your head, in your insular thinking. And I'm going to paraphrase a really smart man I heard once, and I think he said that hatred played inwards is a dangerous game. And it is. Because again, if your plan does not materialize, then what? What do you move on to? Does that now matriculate into something else? Or do you just keep dwelling on it and wasting, to go back to our topic, precious time, not living now, currently, in the gift of life that you've been given now, instead of dwelling on whatever that past thing was that that person did to you, that you're living in the past, dwelling on that to where you're missing out on what is right in front of you, the now, your family, this current happiness that you probably have cultivated and tailored all your life, in addition to seeking this revenge. But if you keep living in the past, and you've heard it's at this point almost cliche, but we can't keep living in the past. I like to say the past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. All right. We're humans and we will revisit it because it's there. And it's, in some respects, it's what makes us whole. And as we try to grow it's what helps us on that growth. But I mean, at what point? When is enough to stop wasting precious time on seeking revenge? And I would go out on a limb and say whatever it is probably very trivial. Because if it was something substantial, let's say financially, scandal or slander, I should say, you would pursue it probably in the court systems. You probably would have by now, right? In the legal systems. So it's probably something so trivial that you ought to throw it away and stop revisiting the past and ruining your now, living with revenge. And then within that revenge, it brings me to the third part of the wrong construct of what Seneca was getting at. And that is setting what I like to call booby traps for these people that you're seeking revenge on or with, and or to. But let's switch now from the revenge side of it to just pure jealousy and, in some respects, hatred, right? Because now you've crossed the line. And I hinted at it, I alluded to it earlier when I was talking about seeking revenge in its full context. But now you've crossed the line and you're starting to do acts that will physically hurt others, professionally hurt others, socially hurt others, ruin their good names because you have just caused whatever it is to boil over so much that, and there's professional help for this, folks. There's professional help for this. And you have trusted friends and family members that you can have these conversations with. But I mean, once you cross that line to where you're doing things that can physically and emotionally ruin someone, it is too late. And I think that that is part, in some respects, of what Seneca is getting after as we, seek our quest for character. I think that is one of the things he's getting after when he talked about that we that most of our lives passes while we're doing wrong. And then here's the other part, back, or I should say, now on to number two. And a large part, as he puts it, doing nothing, nothing. And again, he's right there because social media, which has intentions built in for us to be more productive and more creative, has a double edged sword, or it is a double edged sword because it too has started to rob us of time because we spend so much time on it, either overuse or trying to be who we were never intended to be by following trends and having to be on the latest app and having to post the latest thing and having to comment on the latest comment and having to do even this. Even this has a balance. I mean, when I first thought about starting a YouTube channel, I there were several considerations that were more to the do not do it side than the do it side. And one of them was just how much of who you are you going to be willing to put into it without crossing the line of who you really are? And after much consideration, here we are. But there has to be a balance. And oh, by the way, in addition to this, I have a LinkedIn uh, membership. And of course, I text and email, but that's it. That's it. So, but my point though is that within even this, for those people who this has become a career and is their daily way of making income, I understand. But even those folks have to find a balance because if you don't find a balance, what will happen is what you'll notice, as Seneca puts it, and he didn't say this, but I'll say this part. What you'll notice is that if you don't find that balance, you will get burnt out and quickly. I've followed a few channels that are no longer, and they were popular channels, and I think it was just because of several things. Maybe maybe they got wealthy enough and called it, which is good because there is that the balance, right? Don't chase greed. So there might have been that, and they just left, or life got a vote and things happen. But I've seen some very successful channels that I haven't seen posted in a while, and I've gone to the pages and they're not there. So, but even successful people must find a balance, or we'll find that we quickly waste a lot of time, precious time that could be spent doing the things we really love to do, like going on a hike, spending a day at the beach if you're so inclined and so fortunate. Wherever you live, there's so much you can find to do. There are rivers, lakes, streams, mountains, valleys, so many things to do. So instead of wasting so much time that is not really valuable time. That's the thing about the social media aspect of it is that, let's just be honest, it's not valuable time that is spent doing it. Again, it varies. I'm generalizing, but you get the point. But the time you spend outside or the time you spend with family on a game night, family and friends on a game night is invaluable because you're building those connections and those bonds that are genuine, that are real, that are tangible. So there's just that wasting so much time on social media. And then And that fell under nothing. And it is, at the end of the day, really nothing. We're gaining nothing. We might be entertained for that fleeting 20 minutes, 15 minutes. And again, there's nothing wrong with being entertained just to step away from what's going on. But we start to use this entertainment as a default for solving our problems. And as soon as the entertainment is over, it's like addiction. As soon as the high is over, you still have your problems. And then you're now seeking another high, and that just escalates and exacerbates the problem, right? So have to find a balance and not waste so much time on social media, which brings me to the second part of doing nothing. And that's for those people. And yes, I'm going to go there. That's for those people who sit around and wait for a handout, either from governments, family members, friends, wherever you get your handouts. Those people who sit and wait for that. And I'm talking about the ones from family members who know that they're from well-to-do families that have these accounts that are just waiting to be tapped into either at a certain age or death or whatever it is, and goes back to doing wrong. There are some people who fit into this category who also fit into the wrong category, and also into into the the nefarious category, because they cross the line. But I mean, there are those that just everything is transactional. There are no true relationships built on foundations of trust, loyalty, and all of that good jazz. It's built on perfunctory thoughts and beliefs and sayings, where things are just said because they're necessary, but they're not built on anything at all. So these people just hang around and wait for their family members to either pass on or start dishing it out, or for government programs to exploit government programs, because the programs are there for a reason and for those who are qualified for them. But again, these do nothing people will try to manipulate these programs, and that's where I'm going with do nothing. And I know it's a dark area, and I'm very much aware of my being fortunate to where I don't fit into a category where I would need to exploit a program. But by exploiting the program when you don't need it simply because you don't want to work, you don't qualify. You're cheating from those who actually do qualify. So and that's who I'm getting after, and that's what I'm talking about. Those that would and can seek employment and fit in the category of smart people would rather just sit around and do nothing and let others give them handouts, and they find nothing actually wrong with that because that's just how they're wired. So I think that's the second part of the nothing category. And then the last part of the nothing category is the get rich quick schemes, which ties into just what I'm talking about with the do nothing. They'll do everything except work. They will try nefarious schemes, usually online or in any other form. As long as it is a scheme of some kind, they will find a way to try it. But then there are those with the get rich scheme. And the sad part about that, or one of the really sad parts about that, is who they target with these schemes. And it's usually the elderly, those that are not well informed about how social media works and the little nuances and all those tricks of the trades to look out for that they use, because they know that people don't know these things. So, but get rich quick schemes, they're those I think that fit into that do nothing and waste time, spend time wishing and hoping. And we used to say, I'm sure they still do in some parts of the army, but I used to say, and my peers used to say, Hope is not a course of action. We never hope. All right. We have a plan and we follow the plan and we have contingencies and all that other good jazz. But hope in and of itself is not a course of action. And I want to move on now to the don't matter. We spend all of it on the things that don't matter. Following fleeting trends. I mentioned it earlier, having to fit in, chasing fleeting, unsustainable dreams. Like you wake up and today it's you want to become a professional golfer and join the PGA, but there are other things going on in your life that takes priority over all that. And um, oh, by the way, you like doing this thing, but you aren't that good at it. And you also have a day job that pays the bills. Those unrealistic, unsustainable dreams that we could have. And I said could because when we were younger, we could. We could dream, we could be ambitious. And I stay away from saying all things are possible, even though I believe that. But life gets a vote, and all things are possible with and in time. And we're talking about time. So if we're losing and carelessly giving away time, to my point, we're just chasing these fleeting, unsustainable dreams. And then back to trying to fit in. We do all these things. We go to functions that aren't us. We hang out with people that aren't really our circle. We partake of things simply because we want people to think that we jive and that we fit in. And with that one, I would just like to share with you one word that I would like for you to add to your vocabulary for the future, going forward. Two letters, one word, and it's no. Okay? No is a complete sentence. You start saying yes to things that aren't you and doing things that you were never meant to do because it's not who you really are. It is not your genuine, authentic self. You're trying to fit in, wasting time chasing waterfalls, these fleeting trends, and these unsustainable dreams. You waste so much time doing that, trying to fit in, trying so hard for people to say, hey, that's a cool cat. No is a complete sentence. Add it to your vocabulary and use it often. Yes is also a good answer when it's appropriate, but spend more time with you. If it's not time for your family, spend some of it with you. You don't always have to fill the white space on the calendar with something because there is white space on the calendar. It's time sometimes for us to just take that white space and think about us for a change because making it about us isn't selfish. It is responsible and it is good self care. So taking some time for ourselves by saying no, that is quite all right. It is quite all right. But I think I want to wrap it up there, but I just wanted to not interrogate the entire letter. Actually, this wasn't an interrogation. I just wanted to look at it and try to fit it into today, now, how we can apply that now, and what did he mean by we carelessly lose this time by doing wrong, nothing, and the things that matter. And I think if we realize just how much time is lost doing these things. And that's just, you could think of many other things that I didn't cover that we waste time doing. And if we just take stock of time and optimize our lives by looking at our schedules and looking at who we hang out with and where we hang out and what we're surrounding our lives with, we might save ourselves some time in the long run. So I think I want to leave it there and just leave you with save some time for yourself. All right. It's a precious commodity. And as cliche and as common as that saying is, that we can't catch up with time or we can't get time back. It is so true. Once it's gone, it is gone. All right. It's gone. Can't make it up by speeding. You can't make it up by any method you try. It is gone. So spend it wisely. Spend it on yourself. Spend it with loved ones. Spend it with family. Spend it out in nature. Spend it growing and spend it practically to better your circumstances. And if it's not doing that, and there is something in your life that is extracting your good time, you need to extract that thing from your life. All right. So until then, be good out there. Take care of yourselves, and we'll talk again in our next conversation. All right. We'll see you.